You've probably been aware of the ongoing game of catch-up between leakers and Nintendo taking measures against leakers, but it doesn't seem to be working, and it's really only hurting the consumer in the end. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a goal to hit 30,000 subscribers before the Nintendo Switch 2 launches, so if you enjoy my content, consider subscribing, and if I hit that goal, I will give away a copy of Mario Kart World. And I just want to say, right off the bat, I am not defending leakers. Leakers are a part of the problem, and it's why Nintendo has been taking these measures. And Nintendo is technically within their legal right to do this, but the things that they have been doing aren't exactly the best way to stop leakers, and I feel like it's really only making things worse for everybody. And one thing recently that popped up was with the Switch 2 leaks, because the Switch 2 has been kind of leaking everywhere, because there are some out there in the wild. But some people have found that trying to play Switch 1 games on the Switch 2 requires an update. I'm not sure if it's like a day 1 update. It just requires some update in order to work, which will be released when the Switch 2 releases. And I know this may be for backwards compatibility in a way, since this is seemingly only for Switch 1 games and not Switch 2 games. It kind of prevented some Switch 2 leaks of games actually running on the system, but we still saw like a lot of the Switch 2, and just we kind of have a whole idea of how like the UI is. And this just seems kind of annoying for the consumer, because that means you'll have to connect to the internet when setting up the Switch 2 in order to use certain features. That may not sound like that much of an issue for most people, because most people have access to the internet, but there are some people in some situations that don't have a stable access to the internet, like in rural areas, or sometimes people have like temporary issues with their internet. I remember a few years ago, my family had issues with the internet going out. Thankfully, that has been resolved, but for some people, they may have similar situations. So I just think that's kind of unfortunate that some people will have to connect to the internet for some things. I just wish you could just take out the console out of the box and just start playing games after you set it up, of course, but it's just a bit weird. I actually did encounter some of that with my Switch 1, because there were like a few like internet issues with the Switch 1. Thankfully, it didn't, like, I could just boot up Breath of the Wild and just play it and everything, but I remember like a few things happening with the Switch 1, but the Switch 2, it seems to be like a little more locked down from what I've seen. And the next thing that Nintendo is doing is not sending out review units. And in a way, this is actually not entirely a bad thing, because it actually is helpful for some content creators, like Demeech and I, because we will both have like equal grounds with like gaming journalists to cover the Switch 2. But I feel like there will be some consequences to this. Some of the reviews for the Switch 2 might be even more rushed than other game reviews, because I know with gaming journalism, like, that's a huge issue with like the reviews being pretty rushed, and the reviews are pretty biased too. I would say that's kind of because the reviewers want to keep getting stuff from Nintendo and other video game companies. That's a whole other issue. Nintendo made a good video about that I recommend checking it out. But I feel like, believe it or not, reviews can be helpful in a lot of cases. There are some genuinely good reviewers out there that do get review units that are more honest towards the consumer, I would say, and some of those reviews have been helpful, and I do at least like to see footage of these games like running, and just like footage, I guess, like more official footage before like a console or a game releases. I just think it's nice to see, like, before I like actually start playing it. It's just nice to have, but this time around we won't be getting that, just because Nintendo is so insistent on stopping these leaks. So I don't know. there are actually a couple good things about this, but I don't know, it still has some consequences as well, and it still does hurt the consumer in some ways. And then there's also the lack of transparency from Nintendo, because ever since the Pioro leaks, which was technically, like, basically due to someone having access to the back end of Nintendo's website, and Pioro got that information from someone, Nintendo, like, shifted the way they add information to their website. Like, now we have to wait, like, a few days after the Direct for everything to be added. With the Switch 2 stuff, they did add some things a little sooner. Like, some of the information about Mario Kart World was added sooner, like, because they showed the price tag on the website itself, rather than, like, the storefront page. But there are, like, a lot of things that could be found through, like, the websites. Like I said, the price is usually found there, the developer, the file size, and just other information in general, like even screenshots, renders, different things. That's usually found through the Nintendo website. So it's just a bit annoying not having that information for a few days, because that just kind of leads to a lot of misinformation, and just, like, especially with what we've seen for the Switch 2. Thankfully, they now have Nintendo Today, which is good for, like, some news. I know Nintendo Today has its own weird quirks, because you can't, like, take a screenshot of videos or screen record, which is just another issue on its own. I don't think it has to do with, like, leaks, but it's just a really weird thing. I don't know if it warrants a discussion from me or not, but I just find it kind of weird. But Nintendo Today, I do feel like it has been doing a solid job of providing people with information about upcoming games, and I do think it is a fairly good app for the most part. So, but even then, with Nintendo Today, it doesn't reveal everything. Like I said, the prices, developer, file size, that's not necessarily shown on Nintendo Today, like some of those more specific details. Nintendo Today really only shows, like, the visual stuff, like gameplay, screenshots, controls, different things like that. Like, things that are important, but you would usually find in, like, an overview trailer, but you'd get it, like, a little earlier through Nintendo Today, which is nice, but you usually don't have, like, the specific details on there. And then a final thing that Nintendo has been doing, they've actually been doing this for a little while now, and this is, like, a whole other issue, too, that's kind of connected to this, is Nintendo shutting down emulators. And the thing is with emulators, they are legal. Like, they're supposed to be legal. But Nintendo is doing everything they can to try to make them illegal or shut them down. Like, with Yuzu, there was some shady stuff going on. Like, it was using some, like files from, like, the Switch or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but, and there was also, like, some paywalled content, which I won't defend. That is, I don't think that's right for, like, an emulator, honestly. I think emulators should be, like, free and accessible, with whatever features that they have. But that's really not Nintendo's motive here. Nintendo's literally trying to find any cracks in any of these emulators, any loophole, in order to shut them down. And this was mostly due to, like the Tears of the Kingdom leaks that happened. The Tears of the Kingdom leaks really set Nintendo off. Like, that is the reason they are kind of, like, zero tolerance about leaks now. They've been going hard on leaks ever since 2023, when the Tears of the Kingdom leaks happened. And the thing is, with the Nintendo Switch emulators, I don't condone piracy, like, especially for newer games, and I'm gonna say that for legal reasons, but I think people should be free to play games however they want. Like, whether they want to mod them or emulate them, as long as they own the game. I think people should be free to do what they want, and that's the thing. I think people should own their games. Like, if you buy a game for $60, now $80, you should be free to do whatever you want with it. It's, like, it should be your product that you buy. I really don't like the idea of, like, owning a license to play something. That's just, That's just really stupid, in my opinion. I feel like that's definitely taking ownership away from the consumer, and I just really don't like that. I know that's kind of a bit of a side tangent from, like, leaks, but I do feel like it's all connected here with Nintendo's efforts for shutting down emulators. That just gives them another kind of motive to do that. So, just in general, these measures against the leaks, they're not really helping against the leaks, they're really only hurting the consumer in the end. Because like I said, a lot of footage about the Switch 2 has been leaking out, and this console in general has been one of Nintendo's most poorly kept secrets. And also, leakers like Pioro were even active after Nintendo changed their website. Pioro, like, somehow got a new source and just kept leaking things, so it really didn't help much. Like, all of these leaks are gonna happen anyway. Like, people are gonna find a way. Nintendo really can't stop it. So I feel like going hard on these leaks and just hurting the consumer in the process is really just doing more harm than good, I would say. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. And make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky.